multiple personalities. I'm going to keep working on that.
It's like an addiction, maybe? Or scope.
Scope, maybe?
So related to that, there's this conflict I feel as you scale something up, and there's people doing a lot more things, and the operational details, the day-to-day getting things done, means that the people on the front lines that oftentimes are disconnected from a bigger vision. And the vision is not the beneficiary of those people's input either. And it's not necessarily an intentional thing. It's a thing that happens, and you got to figure out how to intentionally address it and figure out what should be part of the vision.
Do you mean say more? Do you mean like there's some sort of class system, like there's the worker bees and then the people that are connected to the bigger vision?
So at the well, there's a lot happening downstairs where we've got there's 100 guests there, and they need to be served, and it's like when you're in the middle of that, you can't possibly think about anything else. But it doesn't mean you don't have a lot to offer to the vision of the mission, and vice versa. When you're upstairs and you're more focused on how to sustain the operation and fundraise and plan and all this, you can very easily become disconnected from the front lines of the work. And they both really need each other, but it's just easy to sort of miss the connection.
Interesting. Yeah, depending on the size of your operation, you could have. Well, I was thinking Metropolitan Ministries because they literally have 2 floors, don't they? They have the second floor, which is the administrative floor, and they have the first floor, which is where they work with clients, and then they have staffing. They call first floor, second floor, and the second floor people don't interact with the first floor, and the first floor people are all people of color, and the second floor people are all white people. So all kinds of problems there. Wow. But I think that's part of what you're saying is creating. That does happen over time in a growing mission. That you have the sort of the administrators. Maybe they're connected to the bigger plans, vision, whatever. And then you have the people that are actually implementing the mission. And we have to be both. Both the people implementing the mission have to have something to say about the grand scheme of it, and also the people that are in board meetings need to be working with the people. Yeah. It's clearly problematic. Probably shouldn't have said that ministry's name out loud, but that's who I am. Close the meeting. Go ahead. Hey, Jack.
Hey, how you doing? 2 scenarios we're dealing with is I know the simple church movement really emphasizes multiplication versus like division of micro churches or simple churches. You can stay plugged in to your previous kind of sending support group, especially if you're expanding locally from like one local region to another. What are some of the challenges you guys have faced in keeping a team of people that want to start something new, but still stay emotionally connected as far as time and mentorship long term, maintaining that kind of network family. And then also the challenge we're facing in Miami, South Florida context is the fact of the whole concept of a missional church. People are, more Caribbean, Latin background, and they tend to think of church as a static place. So to kind of gather them around a missional purpose first and not worship and community, and then out of the mission has to come out of a bonding period. And so to have the idea of action and deliberateness and a particular kind of focus, for us, like when I'm hearing you guys talk, I'm like, no, that will not work in Miami, South Florida, because just this whole concept is so foreign. If you don't have a steeple and a building and all those, things that what makes a church, that's a challenge. So
it'll work work. It's just a smaller pool to start from. This is like innovation curve thinking. So you've
Yeah.
got early adopters, implementers, early majority, late adopters. When you want to bring in change, some sort of change dynamic, you don't get to work with these people. You don't have access to them. So most, say, Christians in South Florida, in the South in general, I would say, are not really interested in missional as a genesis for the church, because they don't understand it. So they could be, at worst, suspicious of it. I don't know about this, doesn't sound right. At best, they're just ignorant to it, so they would just say, well, I just don't know what you're talking about. So you actually, the key is to not try to target these types, but to actually work with what is about 2% of the population. So this is true with technology, this is true with social thinking, this is true also in the church. So let's say, let's say there's a million Christians in Miami. That's probably a stretch.
2.5.
There's Christians?
Oh, no, the population.
Yes, how many Christians?
2%. 2% of that.
2? Oh, whoa. You got smart.
5% are in church.
5% are in church?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's, let's just say there's 100,000 Christians. What I'm saying is 2% of that number is going to actually be open to real innovation. So we're talking about, what is that? That's 2,000 people. So it's not going to be, so we have to adjust our metrics to think, okay, well, what am I really trying to do? Well, if I'm really trying to work with, and this is true in Tampa as well, however many Christians there are in Tampa, I don't expect that what we're doing or what we're saying or what we're thinking will make any sense to them. So there's about a 2% population that even what we're saying would even be accessible to them. But here's what happens. That 2%, those innovators, they can reach this group, which is about 13%, which is called early adopters. And early adopters will be influenced by these guys. So you want to get at that 2%. That 2,000 missional people, they're there. And they're in those churches, actually. And they're sort of annoyed and frustrated and thinking, this can't be right. This can't be enough. And there's nothing else, and they're Christians, so they keep going. And it's finding those missional-minded, apostolic people to work with and build something with them that starts with missional people. But I like this question. It's like, when you start expanding, when you start planning things, how do you keep a family? How does that not feel like just a loss? They started it, okay, well, I guess I have a good life, and you never see them again, or you see them very little, and it's kind of heartbreaking. What else? Any other realities? Yeah, Jill.
I think coming to this place, it's also by now we're in a place of comfort, so there's a lot of fear of coming back to that initial lens of trying something new. So I think there's that tension of trying to remain stabilized with what we've been doing, and then but also go out and go back to that edge, go back to that I don't know, stuff like that. So it's just that fear of coming out of that place of comfort that you've been in.
Yeah, maybe it's comfort, maybe it's also sort of your sweet spot, maybe you're just good at something, and so how do you, instigate continued growth and change when you're good at something? When you do your one thing, you do that one thing very well, and even should do. I don't know if you've ever read, there's a rereading a book called The Cloud of Unknowing, which is a very old book, about 4 centuries old. It's written by an anonymous monk. We don't know who he was. But it's this sort of idea that our real relationship with God is a relationship with unknowing. It's a relationship with the one who cannot be really actually known. And to somehow relate to God, to know God, to experience that. I keep thinking, my mind keeps spinning into the relationship we have to the unknown. And of course, the unknown is the great source of all of our fears as human beings. The things we fear because we don't know, we can't know. And that goes with human relationships. It it goes with the future. But think about this. The unknown is also the source of our faith. That's also where faith is at play. That it is in the unknown that we exercise faith, that we experience faith. And so to some degree, even if you're very good at something, it's like we have to always have this relationship, this dance with the unknown. I think for me, I probably would consider that humility, that our relationship to the world is always sort of not quite finished, not quite rounded out. Even if I meet with someone who I've known for years, even if I look across the table at my wife, I must think, to really love her, to really know her, to really be in a relationship with her, I must think at some level,